Great news. There's a quick way you can save money. Switch to Geico. Geico could help you get great coverage at a great price. And it only takes 15 minutes to see if you could save 15% or more on car insurance. Go to geico.com today and see how much you could save.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
So one of the NFL insiders, I don't know which one, has said this could be the best draft ever. Stugotz was just muttering about this at the microphone, talking to Mike Ryan, said more trades than ever. Mel Kiper has released his top 300 NFL draft big board and position rankings. That's on Insider. If you want to check it out, you're going to have to pay for it. He got 4 right in the first round last year. So if you want all 300,
I do.
You have to pay for it. Insider. I don't know. What does that cost, Mike? If you want Mel Kiper's exclusive 300, 4 of which will be right.
I don't know. I don't pay for it.
I do.
How
Didn't
much?
I get that for free, by the way?
You should.
We do.
I should.
Yeah.
Do I?
Well, you
Well,
can.
we
if you
have
want,
a show
yeah.
account. You want to siphon off of
Yeah,
this?
could I do that?
You're already paying for it, though.
Yeah.
So you can steal more mock draft insight?
Because it's expiring on me, my Insider account.
For those of you who don't know, that's Greg Cote of the Miami Herald.
everybody.
Last year, he stole liberally from the Mel Kiper and Todd McShay mock lists.
Not
He
really.
got twice as many right as they did. He got 8 exactos,
Damn
exactos that he calls them.
Exactos. Right team to exact team, exact player to exact team. Exactos.
Now, keep in
Well
mind,
done.
this is a man who cannot drink from a thermos quietly while on the radio. He doesn't remember to put on his headsets. He doesn't know what he's doing. Doubled up, Kiper and McShay.
Yep.
Doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah. I really did. Yeah, had the Dolphins pick, nailed it as well. Charles Harris. Got that right.
He panned out.
Well, give him time.
So we've got Dylan McWilliams on today. If you don't know that name, he's been attacked by a shark, a bear, and a snake.
Haven't we all?
So he'll be on with us later. Thank you for contributing nothing there. Just a sentence of joke that stopped me in my tracks and didn't help me do the show at all.
We actually wanted the moment of silence, preferable to whatever it is that you said.
Yeah. Well, I have been bitten by one of those 3 things.
Isn't that his fine, Mike, where he just throws something on our lap? That's $2. You have a fine now. It's $2.
I didn't think I was subject to fines.
No, you are now subject to fines whenever you throw something in our lap that we simply can't do anything with, like that terrible joke.
All I have are hundreds. Sorry.
That's another fine.
We have
All
change.
Do you?
Yeah.
Bring it on.
We'll give you $98 in change.
All in pennies, knowing you guys.
So Kiper's top 300 NFL draft big board. I've told you before that Mel Kiper doesn't actually have a big board. He's never been able to actually prove that he does. And it changes all the time. There's no big board. It's just him and a computer. Maybe it's a legal pad. Maybe he's old school. It ain't a board.
It's not like a grease board where he actually writes names.
He's never taken a picture of it. He could prove it very easily by just taking a picture of it and sending it to
Well, I
him.
don't think he wants to prove it. I don't think he has to prove it. I think the point of the big board, Mel's big board, is the mystery of the big board. Why would he take a picture of that and send it out to everyone? I mean, that's Mel's big board, man.
Why wouldn't you release your top 300 that way if there were an actual board?
I'd bet you dollars to donuts. He's got it on a notepad on Windows 96.
Can you guys figure out for me why it is that people bet dollar to donuts? Can you explain
I'm
to me
on
that
it.
expression? I don't understand. Why are we betting dollars to donuts?
So there wasn't a Windows 96. There was a Windows 95, and then it went 98.
Yeah.
It's a fine.
You don't dispense fines. What are you talking
Well,
about?
if he's part of it, listen, if he's part of the fine system, he dispenses,
If I'm
yes.
subject to him, then I
That's
have
fine,
some
but you
authority
got to
on the
know
other
what
side.
the fines are. You don't know anything
He
about
said
anything.
Windows 96. There was no such thing.
Can I hear from Gettleman, our favorite NFL person who invented football? He is here to tell you what the New York Football Giants are all about. Everyone at the Carolina Panthers was not terribly upset when he left the Carolina Panthers, and now he's running the New York Football Giants, and he says, Barkley, anybody can see Barkley's talent.
Saquon's very gifted and talented. He's one of those guys that my mother could have scouted. She could have figured that one out.
Thank you, Gettleman.
I love that voice.
It's great.
It
Wow.
is. It's gravelly. The voice is football, right?
I know what we were trying to do with Gettleman, but I'm with Stugotz.
Yeah.
I've turned. This is a Gettleman show now.
I love him, man.
We are a
He's
David
fantastic.
Gettleman show now.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were rooting for this guy because if that guy can do it, anybody can.
I don't want to mock him anymore, man. I want to be friends with him.
Great
I do.
voice,
I want to make
great
him a
name.
friend of the show. Yeah, Gettleman. Yeah.
All right, well, go ahead and put it on the poll, Guillermo. Should the show reverse course and try to befriend the general manager of the New York Football Giants, who's an unfathomable gas bag who thinks he invented football?
Chris is going to have to put it on the poll because Guillermo's in the bathroom.
Okay.
You know what, though? Gettleman and his mother are right about Barkley. It's not a quarterback who's the best player in this draft. It's Barkley of Penn State, the running back. He's the surest superstar in this draft.
Wait a minute. Baker Mayfield says he's the surest superstar.
Nope.
Listen to Baker Mayfield, quarterback attitude. He'll plant a flag at midfield. He'll grab his junk. He'll be next to police officers and then run away very slowly and have them tackle him. Baker Mayfield, and he will give you, quote, he will give you, what has been said here, Mike? What's been reported this morning on the Browns? Definitely maybe at number one?
He's definitely in the conversation.
Definitely in the conversation has been reported this morning. So it's definitely maybe, right?
So you can say with certainty that the Cleveland Browns definitely might take Baker Mayfield.
Okay, so you can say with certainty that the Browns maybe. All right, so here's Baker Mayfield in his own words.
You would have to kill me before I'd let you win. I will never give up, and that's something that the great ones have it. Okay. There's a switch that the competitive guys have that I flip on, and like that workout. You know, I'm not the fastest guy, but I'm not going to give up, and you'd have to kill me before I let you win.
Gotta kill him.
Wasn't sure that Georgia actually killed him in the Rose Bowl.
Well,
but I want that guy desperately now.
If the Browns had gotten him 2 years ago, he would have been dead at the end of 31 games.
When people are like, "Well, he's too short," it's like, no, I've been doing this for a while now, and so the measurable stuff has really put a huge chip on my shoulder. To say that people can put a perspective on me just because of my size, that's probably a huge reason why I have a couple boulders on each shoulder. But I've been able to use that and not focus on it, but able to channel it into being able to focus on the preparation and then come game day, letting it all out.
That escalated quickly.
Not chips, but a boulder.
How about one boulder? Plural boulders.
On each one.
From chips to boulders in a couple of sentences.
You got to think that affects his throwing motion.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Probably harder to carry your pads when you have boulders on your shoulders.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Who was it? Isn't
Gettleman.
Gettleman is the one who says he looks at players and sees how they carry their pads? What happens when the pads have boulders under them?
Nobody bolder than Mayfield.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Nice little PG joke.
I disagree.
Oh, you disagree?
Roy's under. It's under Roy.
There's someone bolder than Mayfield out there.
All right, Roy, you disagree with him getting the Hakeem Nicks laugh.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. I was going to come back with no one's older than you, but I left it alone because I thought I was going to get the loser game show sound.
I mean, who's bolder? Rock Cartwright? Come on now.
Would Older have gotten the loser game show shot, Mike?
If I had said Boulder,
Let's just replay it again. Real quick.
You want to redo the whole thing again?
I would like to. I want Greg to deliver that line. You deliver yours, and see what the result would have been.
Let's see how it works. Are we waiting for Are we going to get the Hakeem Nicks laugh or the? Let's see what we've got here.
Nobody's bolder than Mayfield.
Yeah, that time it didn't work for me.
You can't take back a Hakeem
Wait
Nicks
a minute.
laugh.
This totally changed. This is like Sliding Doors, the Gwyneth Paltrow movie. This changes everything. You can't do it that way.
Oh,
Let's try it again.
nobody's bolder than Mayfield.
See, that time it was better.
No, but I got to come back with nobody's
Yeah,
older
let
than
me do his
you.
line.
Get about my line.
Comedy's all about timing.
What about
Right, but yeah. ESPN
with no
Radio.
sense of irony? Mike says comedy's all about timing.
I'm a one-trick pony, literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Don Batard.
Will you sometimes call your childhood telephone number?
We all do.
We all do.
Thank you. Yeah, I think Greg was saying he does it
Greg,
as well.
feel free to speak into the microphone instead of that thermos you're drinking out of.
Right.
because you're on the radio.
We all do.
Stugotz.
All right, I changed my mind. Do the rest of the show.
Yeah,
into your
better. It enhances you.
Do your whole show into the metal third.
You never know.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Mike, let's start at number 15 because people will find it interesting. Let's just do Mel Kiper's top 300 NFL draft big board. I'm going to do all 15 here. Just give me the triumphant sound that we put with lists. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Ready.
He's got the 15th best prospect in the universe available to football teams this year is Lamar Jackson.
Wow.
I like that ranking.
Yeah.
Very solid. Very fair to Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm. Right in the middle.
Number 14 is a defensive tackle from Washington. None of you have ever heard of. Vita Vea.
That's who we have going to the Dolphins.
Double V's, yeah.
Could be the Dolphins pick.
Yeah.
Perfect fill-in for Sue.
Alabama's got good players. Their defensive tackle, Daron Payne, is number 13.
That's it. I mean, I'm telling you, man, that guy,
16.
yep, he is short, good leverage.
Yep.
I can really rush the passer, man.
Bringing the pain.
Yep.
Number 12, Baker Mayfield.
Little low.
Yeah, a little low. I mean, for a guy that's got a boulder on each shoulder, I mean, you're right, little low.
I like that as a nickname for Baker Mayfield, Boulder Shoulder.
It's clearly pushing him down. No,
Right. If he didn't have those boulders on his shoulders, he'd be higher.
This has to be a smokescreen, right? Like this whole Adam Schefter report with the Cleveland Browns, it has to be a smokescreen.
The Cleveland Browns have leaked out interest in every single one of these quarterbacks at number one.
That's right. Number 11, Tremaine Edmonds, a linebacker from Virginia Tech.
Yeah, baby.
Solid player. Good lateral speed.
Are you going to do this on everyone? Josh Rosen is number 10. Minka Fitzpatrick,
Concerned
number
about his
9.
passion for football.
Denzel Ward, number 8.
Fitzpatrick,
number
solid.
7, Derwin James. Number 6, Sam Darnold.
Another cannon.
Fat in a year. Number 5, Josh Allen.
Nope.
Number 4, Quentin Nelson.
Best player in the draft.
Not familiar. Whoa.
Best player in the draft you just said about a guard from Notre Dame?
That guard from Notre Dame will be in the Hall of Fame in about 20 years.
Yeah,
Yeah. Can't miss.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Can't
familiar,
miss.
but can't miss.
Can't miss
Another
guy.
boulder shoulder guy.
Not flashy guy, but can't miss.
Number 3, Roquan Smith, a linebacker from Georgia.
Ooh, I love those Georgia defenders.
Big time.
Number 2, that menace, Bradley Chubb.
Chubbing it.
Second best player in the draft.
And the number 1 overall prospect and the best player in the actual draft, despite Stugotz's rankings, Saquon Barkley from Penn State.
Next level athlete.
Yeah.
What do you guys do with this? Rich Eisen says, if on Twitter the NFL insiders keep reporting the draft picks before the draft picks are announced, the NFL draft as an entertainment experience, as a show, is done. It's finished. He says if reporters continue to leak the information, sucking the drama out of the picks on Twitter, he says the show's over as more people are covering it more intensely than they ever have.
Sounds like an old man take, but I will be honest, it annoys me. It really does. I hate when I learn on Twitter, I'm watching the draft to watch the draft. I want it announced by the guys who are covering the draft. I don't want it announced, by Rich Cimini on Twitter. Okay, that's now a Simony, whatever his name is. I want it from Trey Wingo. And then I want analysis from Mel Kiper.
Does this person work for us?
Trey? Yes.
Trey does it. So does Mel and McShay and all the guys who are covering the draft for us.
The guy whose name you just mispronounced.
Simini?
I have no idea if he works for us. And if he does work for us, do me a favor. Stop ruining the draft for me. So what I've decided to do is I just don't turn on Twitter anymore. I don't do it anymore.
That is the way to handle it.
Yeah.
He does work for us.
Yeah. All right.
Wow. Great
Rich,
job.
I mean, listen, great job covering the Jets, but do me a favor, stop ruining the draft. That's all. That's all I ask. You're a good guy. You had him on the weekend show. Good information.
Wait a minute,
just
you don't know his name and you had him on your weekend show?
Simini, something like that.
Richie C.
Yeah.
Why do we have to wait until the third round until the Parrots are making picks?
Seriously.
Why can't that happen in the first round?
Yeah, we've talked about this before. Some of the picks are from space and stuff, but they won't do that until the 6th round. They should be doing it in the first. But the first is too sacred. It's too important.
Stugotz
You
is
can't
right,
do
though.
it from space. You can't. Tell me it wouldn't be better.
But Rich Cinnamon's ruining it for everyone.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Would it be better if the first pick of the NFL draft were announced from a rocket ship in space? Because they've done that, have they not? In like the 5th and the 6th round?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But the first round is too serious to do it.
And Billy wasn't joking. A parrot is actually going to be delivering draft picks
From a pirate ship.
The Bucks pick. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Talking parrot.
You got to keep day one for Roger Goodell because this is the only thing he's good at as commissioner. He kills these hugs when these players come up to the podium. Yeah. It's my favorite part of the draft.
He's the master of the awkward hug. There's no question.
Oh, no, I am.
He gives a good hug, man.
You think they're good?
Yeah, I don't think they're awkward.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be, but he does a pretty good job
Guillermo,
considering
put it
what
on
we
the
know
poll.
about Roger
It
Goodell.
seems genuine. We know it's not. I'm telling you, it's just he's a really good hugger.
Put it on the
Fluid,
poll,
too.
Guillermo.
They try to throw him like some, extra in the handshakes, and he's always ready for it.
Do you think they discuss beforehand whether they're just going to go in for the hug or like slap hands then hug?
No. I think it's just kind of on the fly.
Goodell's
you know?
such a pro that he's ready for anything.
He's ready for any move.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Who's the more awkward hugger, me or Roger Goodell?
Are you an awkward hugger?
Yeah. To your larger point, though, I'm going to a draft party on Thursday, and we have to have the Jack White phone pouches. You have to put them away. You cannot have your phone because I, for one, am always spoiling the draft because I can't stay off my phone during it because I need to know 5 seconds earlier. But Rich Eisen's onto something. I do lose a little bit of something when I'm not being surprised with the announcement.
There should be a professional agreement among all reporters not to do this anymore. It's so ridiculous. Here's the definition of a scoop. When you're reporting something that would not otherwise have been reported. If you're reporting something a second and a half before Goodell announces it, what is the bleeping point of that? It's so ridiculous. I would unfollow anybody who tells me 10 seconds
if you were the
early.
if you were the only one with the information 2 seconds early, you would absolutely be doing it.
I don't think so. What's the point?
What
is the
attention
point?
for yourself? Attention,
No,
which you never want.
Oh, I would ruin everyone's draft.
Of course you. If Greg Cote had access, put that on the poll. If Greg Cote had access to the picks 2 seconds before everyone else, would he be the fastest Twitter person in the world with that information?
This Rich Eisen really needs to get over himself. Let me tell you why, Dan. He's upset that it's not ruining the draft. It's ruining a stupid little show because he's not afraid to show the camera and show the people on the cell phones when they're getting called by the team. They're more than happy to show the teams calling the players before they go out on stage. He's just upset because people are telling the picks before they can show the shot of the people on
Rich
the phone.
Eisen wants the power.
Yeah,
he's
it's
the NFL
Eisen,
network.
by the way, fine.
He wants the power of knowing everything and releasing it to everyone.
Money, 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 money.
Who wouldn't want that power, though? I mean,
Correct.
Right. And you're right. If I had the power to tweet out before every single, I mean, Greg's not going to admit it. We all know he would, but I would absolutely be ruining.
How did the Kentucky Fried Chickens not come out on Greg Cote saying that if he had the power, look, man, we all discovered Adrian Wojnarowski the same way.
I shun attention.
Adrian Wojnarowski was breaking all the news in basketball, and you're like, who is this guy? Who is this guy outside of ESPN when the NBA draft is going on who is putting all of this out there before it's actually been publicized?
I mean, if I had the power, I wouldn't put the picks out there until someone pays me for them. Seriously.
Dan Le Batard.
How much career does Greg Cote have left?
Just over 3 hours.
Very little, believe me.
Stugotz.
If my career were a round of golf, I would say I have teed off on the 18th hole. I'm in the rough. Man, am I in the rough.
You've already teed off, though, you're saying?
I've teed off.
You got about 4 or 5 shots left?
Yeah, well, 6 or 7.
Right,
knowing
okay.
my game.
Teed off.
He's about to take a drop.
Oh, yeah. No, I sliced it into Mrs. McGillicuddy's condo, and it bounced into the lake, and now I'm trying to find it. I got scuba gear. It's sad.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. The Dan Le Batard Show is brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Rockets scored 50 points in the third quarter in their win last night. 50 points.
Didn't you
in the
say
third.
that they were in trouble? Didn't
and
you
yesterday
announce?
they were, and today they're not. So it works.
You said they were in trouble, and they put up the biggest quarter in the history of the sport in the playoffs.
Yesterday they were in big time trouble. Going into the third quarter, they were in trouble.
No longer in trouble.
Then the Rockets put up a 50 spot.
50! They
got themselves out of trouble.
James Harden kept going further and further backward, bending over and shooting the ball out his butt like a flare.
Yeah.
And it would go into the basket.
He's pretty fun to watch when he gets like that, right?
Woo!
It is, it's beautiful.
What the hell are you going to do?
There's nothing you can do.
He's one of the greatest offensive basketball players I have ever seen.
It's crazy. I don't even understand it. I really don't.
Here's what I can tell you. You'll understand this. Regardless, if they get past the T-Wolves, and they will, trouble's right around the corner. You know what? Chris Paul's on the team. Never been to the Western Conference Finals. He's never been to a conference final. How can you call him one of the greatest point guards of all time if you've never been to a conference final? Anyone who's any sort of good gets to a conference final. Anybody. Yep. Name a great point guard who's never been to a conference final. Go ahead, I dare you.
Okay, let me think for a second of a great player all time who's never been to a conference final, because Melo's only been to one, right?
Yeah, but he's not a point guard.
Way back.
No, but I'm just doing players. Really? Point guards? Okay, let's think for a second.
Oh, you do great players.
No, you're going to make it point guards?
Okay,
I don't know what. Okay, we'll come back to that.
Well, there's no answer. That's the point. Julio Jones hasn't joined the Falcons for off-season workouts and has deleted Falcon photos from his Instagram page. Uh-oh.
Wow.
And finally, Mike Francesa just told Newsday, quote, "It's time to return to WFAN." He's been gone for a month.
He missed that microphone. Big boy ego missed that microphone. He lasted a whole month without giving it 6.5 hours of sports opinions a day, and now he's crawling back.
I gotta say this. I mean, I grew up loving Francesa. Dare I say worshiping Francesa, okay? I listened to their show, Mike and the Mad Dog. He should be ashamed of himself. I am serious. You know, I'm a grown man. I'm not a kid anymore, Mike. You should be ashamed of yourself for how you're acting. I mean, you wanted to retire. You walked away from WFAN, and now a couple of months later you want to come back, and here's what makes it worse. The guy who replaced you was your producer for many, many years, worked very hard for you, didn't make a lot of money, and he's a friend of mine. And all you've done since he's taken over is ripped him. You have given him no shot at succeeding at WFAN. Zero. Because you and Russo think it's funny just to pal around on the MLB network and make fun of the afternoon show that is trying to find their footing. Shame on you and shame on WFAN if they bring back Mike Francesa. But I'll be listening. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in to the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
That, my friends, is the rare Stugotz maximum shame. That you do not see that unveiled, unsheathed very often. Yeah. It is like the Excalibur sword. What the hell, man?
I grew up on that station. That station means a lot to me. And I'm telling you, because Dan, I know how you are. I've been sitting next to you for 15 years. If a producer Mike Ryan took over the show, you would give him every chance to succeed. You would say the right things. Mike has not done that. And that's a terrible job by Francesa. And he should be ashamed of himself. I'm serious. That's a bad job. A kid worked hard for you for 15 years to help you build the biggest radio show in America, and then he gets his big opportunity, and what do? Make fun of him with your former co-host who left you because he didn't like you. A terrible job by Russo as well. And Mike, you've had no success. I'm sorry, Mike. Zero success since you left WFAN. Now, perhaps that's because you left 35 days ago, but you haven't had any success, and you're already at least Russo has had some success without you.
You sound like...
do something by yourself. Be outside of WFAN, because you're a one-trick pony. That's it. You can only survive and only get good ratings at WFAN. Otherwise, you're nothing. Station made you. You didn't make the station, Mike.
Dave Bing.
A great point guard who never made the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah, I think I found it.
Thank you, Mike, because I wasn't going to come up with one off the top of my head. Stugotz made it so refined. Like I was sorting through players who had never been to an Eastern Conference Finals, trying to think how deep Dominique made it into the playoffs. I was trying to figure it out, and then he neutered me with point guards.
Yeah,
just shouting point guards at me.
I don't think Bing qualifies as great.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like Hal Greer, he's pretty good. Not good.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Does Dave Bing qualify as great? No. I think Greg Cote's knowledge is lacking.
I know Bing. I do like his search engine, but as a player, he's really just not. He was good. Probably made the All-Star team a few times.
Yeah, seven times to be exact.
Good
Seven?
yeah, but
okay.
back in the 60s and 70s.
Hall of Fame? Nada.
No. That defines greatness.
7-time All-Star makes you great.
That name doesn't sound like a great player.
You're right. You're right about. Like if Stugotz was that rogue scout looking through high schools for the player that's going to be the next superstar, and he happened upon Dave Bing, he's like, this guy's not going to make it. It's his birth certificate. It's the name. He's right about that.
Right.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Is he?
There you go.
He's great.
And that concludes.
I dispute that.
Greg, you dispute that.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think he's in the Hall of Fame.
He's in the Hall of Fame.
There it is. Like it's not
Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he did average 20 points. All right, I take back everything I said about Bing. What a wonderful player. Surprised he never reached the conference final.
Because he's not great.
First of all, I want to understand, based on last night's results, how does Paul George have the confidence to call himself Playoff P when none of us have ever?
I didn't even know that.
When none of us have ever, none of us remember anything he's done in the finals except shoot air balls at the end of last season while his Gatorade commercials played and he was losing to LeBron. Like at the end of the games last year when we were waiting for Playoff P's playoff moments.
Playoff P was pretty terrifying, though, with the Pacers when they went in that Eastern Conference Finals with.
But I'm saying,
Miami.
in general, he had that one. Didn't he have that shot to beat the Dream Team Heat at the end of a game? Didn't he beat them at the end of a game?
I don't know if he's ever had a game winner. In
Ever?
the playoff, ever.
No, they did that. Yeah, I don't think he did because we were making fun of him last year. They had that Gatorade commercial in which he is making a game winner, and we were mocking that commercial because he's never hit a game winner in the postseason.
But do I have this wrong? Because I feel like there was one playoff game against the Pacers where Playoff P did hit the game winner, and then LeBron came back and hit the game winner. Like there wasn't enough time in the game, and they had a defensive breakdown, and LeBron's just laying it in at the buzzer. I seem to remember, regardless, the larger point being that Playoff P's run in OKC is about over. He's going to probably end up somewhere else. Russell Westbrook has taken his personal feud with Ricky Rubio to higher levels here where he doesn't care about anything other than destroying Ricky Rubio.
He's getting embarrassed, though, man. I mean, Westbrook is getting embarrassed. He made it all about him and Rubio, and then after the game last night said, listen, this isn't about me and Ricky.
That's right.
Russ, the Stugotz is strong at you, man.
Westbrook, you did that, buddy. You're the one who said you guaranteed that the Rubio thing was going to get shut off.
I know there was a tweet last year that Tim McMahon had where it said Paul George is an NBA worst 0 for 15 on potential go-ahead shots in the final 20 seconds of games since he entered the league.
You don't get to be. All right. Put that stat up there and say, do you get to be Playoff P if that's your stat line?
That's also a dreadful nickname that he's given himself. I mean, it's just Playoff P. Really? It's just awful.
Is it a dreadful nickname?
Oh, God, it sounds like a urinary.
I don't
function.
feel. It sounds like a urinary infection. Okay, put that on the poll as well, Guillermo. Does Playoff P sound like a urinary infection?
Cent, 5 cent, 10 cent, dollar.
How about Carmelo skating again? I mean, no one paying attention to him. 5 of 18 in a big game last night. He is the most overrated player in the history of the NBA. Seriously.
Amin told you that Utah was going to do that to them. Amin told you that Utah's defense was too good for the I mean, they've got 3 guys, all of whom need the ball in their hands on OKC.
How about the new Reggie Miller Spike Lee beef that is Mitt Romney, Russell Westbrook?
Yeah.
That was amazing last night. Mitt Romney, totally the guy that wears a business shirt underneath a jersey.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did not disappoint.
Okay, but who is the guy most like that? Because it's got to be a politician, right?
It was Brad Stevens.
That's right.
Yeah, it's
Who's
true.
the most likely throughout sports to wear a dress shirt underneath their jersey? Throughout, not just sports, all of entertainment. Mitt Romney's a pretty good one.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
You may have noticed sometimes Stugotz comes in here and he looks like a werewolf.
Michael Wilbon.
Oh, yes.
You know
Warren
who
Buffett
stops him from looking like a werewolf? Dollar Shave Club. Whenever he grabs their devices, he fixes his werewolfian nature.
Remember when Buffett wore the full Indomitian soup?
Yes. Yes. What a classic.
It's $5.
Don Le Batard.
Greg, are you going to say anything? Or are you just going to sit there checking the internet?
When I have something to say, I say it. What I was thinking of as you said that was that I think Black History Month is also split into 2 half months. which is terrible.
That's not true.
It's
the
not
first
true?
half and the second half of February.
There you go.
Right.
Stugotz.
No, it's February into March, isn't it?
It's February.
No, it's
Hang on.
Good contribution, though, when you decided to talk. That was good.
History Month.
Yeah, you're... Greg.
I'm like a dog with a bone on this. I'm wrong. Okay.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Stugotz was looking at his computer during the break. He was arguing with his computer, as he does throughout the draft. This week is crazy for Stugotz. What did you just have on your computer that you were yelping about during the break?
Love draft week, man. Matt Patricia. Actually, I need a sounder for this, Mike.
A sounder?
Yeah, anything. Dan, the NFL news, it never stops, especially this week, draft week. Matt Patricia says he's looking for tough, competitive players who are fundamentally sound and play the style of football they want to build here under him. How about that?
Big.
Patricia, draft week, fundamentals, competitiveness, players who fit the system.
Tough,
all the systems are the same.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're not all the same, but they're all tough and competitive.
Yeah.
Tough, man.
I'm going to come here. My favorite new coach smell is the opening press conference where they're going to be fitter and more disciplined than anybody, even though they're saying the exact same thing at all the other headquarters where they're having press conferences. It's sort of like, we've got the greatest fans in the world. Everybody always says about their fan base. None of you are right.
Right. Even when your fan base is obviously a lousy fan base.
Did the Marlins say that when they won the World Series?
Yes.
They did, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Every team has ever said that. We've got
right
the
after
best
the
fans in the
rep.
world. It is. It's the same cruddy thing. I mean, honestly, the number of coaches. Was it Marty Morningweg? What was the press conference? There was
Wig.
I'm not sure if that was the guy, though. There's an offensive line coach of some sort that was very popular that did the opening press conference on his whole thing was going to be getting lower than the other guy. And it's like, okay, coach.
Well, it's hugely important in football.
I know
As
it
you
is.
know, low man wins.
I know. Yes, I'm aware of that.
If you apply low man wins, that philosophy across the entire football field, then guess what? Everybody wins.
I just love the idea that in football of all sports, we make those guys geniuses when it's Mike Zimmer, man.
Well, that guy is an actual genius.
Well, he's an
so.
actual genius. Okay, bad example by me.
Terrible example.
But it's like it's Bruce Arians.
That guy's also a genius. Look at what he's done with quarterbacks.
Yeah, my bad. It's Sean Payton. You guys keep telling me.
Total genius.
Oh, yeah, he is a genius.
Yep. Quarterback guru.
Yep.
Super Bowl champion.
You guys are right. He is different than the rest. Mike McCarthy. What about him? He can't be smarter than everyone else.
Super Bowl champion. I mean.
No, but Dan's right about that one.
I am right about that one.
No, he's not smart.
Hugh Jackson. He's smarter than everyone else, right? He's going to out X and O everybody and out leadership everybody.
Well, if you want one head coach to develop a number one overall draft pick, it's a guy that just failed with Deshaun Kaiser.
Guillermo, what can you tell me about my feud with the Tampa Bay Bucks? I've got a feud going yesterday that escalated with the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Tampa Bay Bucks fan base. Now, the Tampa Bay Bucks fan base shouldn't be saying anything about anybody. You guys are still getting Gruden $10 million because of the miracle of him winning a Super Bowl with your franchise. Like, you need to not be making fun of anybody about anything.
So yesterday, Riley Bulla, who plays for the Bucks, there was a lot of that going on after this little feud.
Well, what's his name? Forgive me, I'm not feigning ignorance. What is his name?
It's a power move by you. His name is Riley Bulla, and he said, quote, "I know I've said it before, but for the love of all things good and decent, the show Highly Questionable is the worst, all capitalized, show on television. Period. Just sad." Wow. So then, Dan, you said, "I know I've said it before, but for the love of all things good and decent, the team, the, quote, Tampa Bay Bucks, unquote, is the worst, all capitalized, show on television. Period. Just sad."
Good response by you.
Yeah, you killed him there.
You like that? You guys like that? Yeah, you guys like that? I really hammered it.
Artfully done.
Yeah, we were all thinking of the Bulla joke. Stop being a Bulla.
Yeah,
Really
so
Bulla did.
then this poor Riley Bulla didn't know what was coming because the crazy people that follow this show just made his life miserable.
Yes.
Buried him.
You are no longer a Buccaneer in my personal record book, said one person.
Wow. Sorry I sent that.
One thing led to another, and then he said that he misses Mike Golick. Mike Golick said thank you, and then there was lots of insults of Greeny and Beadle and Trey Wingo. It was just a whole fun day for everyone. Lots of criticizing ESPN.
Have you ever had a public athlete feud, Cody?
No.
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cote on ESPN. Dan Le Batard.
Yo! Chicken time.
Stugotz.
Smarter God.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
All right, I got 4 things for you here. You guys tell me which you want to talk about, okay? Guillermo's got some ideas on how to fix the draft, the NFL draft. He's got some crazy entertainment ideas. If we're going to make this entertainment, why don't we make it entertainment?
Yep.
We got this feud with this Tampa Bay Buck, Riley Bulla. Greg Cote says that we should have Riley on the air, and this invitation is formally extended right now. Mm-hmm. I would love to have this member of the Tampa Bay Bucks that we are feuding with on our show, not to debate or anything, to merely describe the one tackle he had last season.
Yes. Third string linebacker.
No, but I want to describe in detail the one tackle. I would like to extend an olive branch so that he could just tell us all about the one tackle that he has that makes him more of an authority on NFL football last year than Greg Cote, who had one fewer tackle.
I'm not sure you know what olive branches are.
Yeah.
So there's that. You could do what this Alabama player has done to UCF, or we could go to Greg Cote's Back in My Day. Which would you guys like to do? Let's vote. Let's go around the shipping container here. Those topics are all up for discussion. I like Guillermo's ideas on the draft, Stugotz. They're ridiculous, but it would be fun to watch.
Agreed.
But Chris, which way are you?
Fun to watch regardless.
Which way do you want to go, Chris Cote? Your father wants badly to do Back in My Day. The back half of our show is stacked. Bryant Gumbel might be around here. We got a guy who was bitten by a shark, a bear, and a snake. So we got stuff going on.
At the same time?
So, Chris, what do you have here?
Back in My Day.
Guillermo?
Alabama football guy.
Roy? All right, was it a surprise it got to you? Go ahead, Mike. What do you got? Also, $2 and get out of here. Wow. Mike, what do you got?
Did Greg actually do his Back in My Day?
Yes, he did it this week.
I'd like to hear Billy's thoughts on the draft.
Okay, so do I. Guillermo, what do you got? Give us some thoughts on the draft. We'll get to Back in My Day at some point during the show.
I didn't get a vote, I mean.
Okay, but you're right. But it was done. It was over. What is your vote, Stugotz?
No, that's fine. We have
What's your vote?
Guillermo.
Okay, very good.
All right,
you got
Dan.
your name out there, Stugotz. You got your opinion out there. You're not going to miss the microphone like Francesca at all when that day comes.
Where's my vote?
Wait, what is Greg going to vote for?
Slate Magazine took my vote away from me as well?
Guillermo, what do you got?
All right, Dan, as you know, the NFL draft is this week, and it's, a spectacle. And we've been talking about it for months and months, but it kind of doesn't live up to the hype for me, the first round, because it's just, at the end of the day, someone goes up, reads a piece of paper, that's it. That person's on your team.
And it's a defensive tackle from Washington or guard from Notre Dame, and you're like, well, that was uneventful. Because basically, the Dolphin fan would want Lamar Jackson drafted at 15, whether it pans out or not, right? Or drafted.
Yes. You would take Lamar Jackson for the night of excitement, even if he doesn't pan out, over a guard that turns into a Hall of Famer.
So the night is exciting if you get the players you want. It's disappointing if you don't get the players you want. How about this, Dan? In this scenario, an extra pick is up for grabs at the end of the first round. How might a team go about getting that pick, you ask? Great question.
Hold on a minute. You mean between the first and second round, an extra pick can be won from someone in the first round?
At the end of the night, there will be a compensatory pick given to a team based on what happens earlier in the night. What's happening earlier in the night, Dan? Good question. This is what happens. Each team needs to put on a performance when they're selecting their pick. And you'll have celebrity judges, and they will pick the team that had the best performance and did the best job of making their pick.
Mm-hmm.
How fun is that going to be?
Fun.
That would be fun. Yeah, so like a talent show. And so what kind of ideas do you have for what the teams can do? Because asking Mike Zimmer to be more creative than Mike McCarthy is going to produce some real entertainment.
No.
No, you might have to hire someone.
Yeah, you can outsource this job. You hire dance coaches and musicians. It's going to be a whole thing.
But, Bill, just to give an example, this year, there's a couple of creative things going on this year. The San Francisco 49ers will have Chewbacca, Stormtroopers, and R2-D2 announce picks for them, and the Jets will have Boomer Esiason.
See, those things wouldn't get you that extra pick. And they're doing it late in the draft. This has to be first round, big night. It's going to be a star-studded event. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be great. Chris had a great idea.
Yeah, my team would have someone come out, they put a sword in their mouth and swallow it, and it has nothing on it. It comes out, it has the pick on it.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Wouldn't that be fun, Dan?
Who's doing it, though? But who's doing it? A sword swallower or like
Exactly.
an amateur?
Neil Patrick Harris.
Okay.
It's a good start. Now imagine if there was 50 sword swallowers. How about that? Lots of acrobatics. I'm thinking that lots of teams are going to hire like Cirque du Soleil to be doing this stuff. I feel like there's going to be motorcycles and fires and tigers. It's going to be a whole thing. Trapeze artists. It's going to be so much fun, Dan. Wouldn't this be great?
Yeah.
Celebrities, duh. But that goes without saying. Stugotz had another idea, though. If they don't want to go this route, which is the better route, but if they don't want to go this route, how about this? They have the 3 picks that they want to make, each team, right? And then they bring out someone to putt for them. It's a mini golf game.
Yes.
So you get your guy
With a
to
windmill.
come out.
Yeah, windmill.
Of course, the windmill has to be there. You get your guy to putt. Whatever hole it goes in, that's who you get.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing, Dan. If your guy putts it and it doesn't go in the hole, next team gets to putt. And you just keep moving until someone gets that pick.
So Jordan Spieth, for the Jets pick, they throw it out to Jordan Spieth, who's on a miniature golf course playing a hole with a windmill. And there are 3 holes. One hole is for Josh Rosen. The other one is for Josh Allen. The other one for Baker Mayfield.
Right, of course Lamar Jackson gets left off the...
Listen, Lamar Jackson's the guy that I want. Unfortunately, he's not the guy that
but
the
I'm
Jets
just saying,
want.
of course there are only 3 holes, and of course only those 3 quarterbacks fit in those holes.
How about this? What if Jordan Spieth...
Whoa, I didn't say anything about race. I brought up Lamar Jackson.
What if Jordan Spieth doesn't like the Jets, so he intentionally makes it in the wrong hole?
Right, because he could do that. Yes.
Yeah.
It's called buggery.
Right.
Oh, and now you have Mason Rudolph because there was a 4th Mason Rudolph hole.
Like, the lion should get one of those really trained lions that will, like, hug its trainer and come out and just do a acrobatic thing with the lion.
Because they're the Lions.
Normally,
But because they're the Lions, it would maul someone, and then Goodell would get, like, bitten.
That's what makes it impressive.
That's true. That'd be
Good
fun
for
to
ratings.
watch. That'd
Yeah.
be fun to watch. You're right.
normally you guys fix things that aren't already perfect.
Guillermo seems to be bored by the draft.
I think this is better. Could you imagine?
it is
You
better.
come out and Simon
No, but
Cowell
this
tells
is
you
what's
if you had a good
happening around here in
presentation.
general. You guys want to fix baseball all the time, and so you put ball pits and ponds in the outfield.
But that's not already perfect.
Right.
I'm willing to listen if the judges can be Mel Kiper Jr. and Todd McShay.
Oh, you're in on that?
I'm in on that.
I think I'm
I would
with you,
love Mel
Right.
Kiper should actually judge a reality show.
It is, listen, it is a good point because this thing already is, like with baseball, it's not perfect, right? We put those rules into place because Brandon Belt's up there having a 13-minute at bat that no one wants to see.
Well, wait a minute,
okay?
which a lot of people in baseball like, by the way.
No
to be
one likes
fair,
that.
no,
Historic at that.
People like that?
Stugotz.
13
People
minutes
who
watching a guy foul balls off?
The people who appreciate baseball really liked that at bat. The first in the history of the sport.
No. In the postseason, you really like that bat. There's a guy staying alive, doing what he has to do because the game has stakes attached to it.
You
No
don't
one-
like
No one
baseball.
cares about it in game 12
I'm
of the regular
not
season.
no one. You don't care because you don't care about baseball.
He sent 16 souvenirs into the stands. If that happened in a Marlins game, everybody goes home with a ball.
No, this thing is going to be
There
hosted.
was a time that happened, by the way. CBS News did a split. You could look this up on the internet. Somebody at a Marlins game ended up getting like 9 foul balls.
This thing's going to be hosted by Seacrest. Ellen's going to be there. Howard Stern's going to be a judge with Simon Cowell. It's going to be so great. Al Roker's going to be doing something because he's involved in everything. It's going to be great. What are you guys missing here?
$2.
Everyone in the neighborhood knew about Bobby. Bobby, the basketball boy, they called him. Bobby wanted to go pro someday, so he was always out in the driveway shooting hoops. But one day, his mom came out and told him,
"Hey, your wife wants you to take out the trash?"
His mom was visiting, and Bobby was a grown man. He had kind of missed his window. Plus, no one had ever seen him actually make a basket. But on the other hand, Bobby had heard how Geico could save him money on car insurance, so he switched and saved. So, it was all good.
Dan Le Batard.
Pot calling him Kettle Black, as my grandma used to say. Nellie Doogie.
Stugotz.
Nellie Doogie is your grandmother's name?
Used to be. Still is, I guess.
It is.
But it's on a headstone now.
Will always be your name.
What kind of name is that?
It's an odd name. I believe it's a French name. We were of French ancestry, which I don't like to talk about a lot.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Allen Iverson is on First Take right now, sitting next to Stephen A., and that has been an interesting journalist-athlete relationship through the years because Stephen A. Smith has come after Allen Iverson in print, on television. Allen Iverson has been hurt by some of the things that Stephen A. has said about him, which include like his life, personal life, being in disorder in a way that Allen Iverson has come back at Stephen A. Smith. And Stephen A. Smith's response at every turn has been, look, I care about this person, and I have not reported half of what I could report about what's going on in his life. And here they are sitting next to each other, celebrating Philadelphia basketball, celebrating Philadelphia basketball mattering for the first time since Iverson. And they're celebrating it on television. Mike, do you have any of the sound? We've talked to Stephen A. about this before, and Greg Cote's Back in My Day is coming up in seconds. And also, happy birthday to Barbara Streisand. She's 76 years old today.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
Don't put women on the sheet if you don't want me to say women. Happy 36th birthday to Kelly Clarkson.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care. Good luck.
Happy 54th birthday, Cedric the Entertainer.
Happy birthday to him. I don't care.
I mean,
good luck.
Don't put women on the birthday list if you don't want me to do that. Time now for Back in My Day.
And now, it is time to take a trip down memory lane. Here's your guide, Greg Cote, with Back in My Day.
Old movie theaters. Whatever happened to them? They've gone the way of the drive-in theater or the ice truck and the milkman. Back in my day, movie theaters had tall, vertical neon signs or vintage marquees surrounded by round, blinking lights. The inside decor might be gaudy, faux velvet wallpaper. The seats' armrests had built-in ashtrays. There were uniformed ushers. The movie tone newsreel came on in black and white. There were double features with a 10-minute intermission because the projectionist had to switch out the reels. You'd walk into the joint, and the smell of overly buttered popcorn would joust with the moist musk of carpets last cleaned the week Citizen Kane opened. You'd sit in your seat elbow to elbow and front to back with fellow moviegoers, your right foot glued to the floor by some mystery fluid or gum. This was before cell phones, and a polite hush would fall over the room as the red velvet curtains drew open. Whatever happened to movie theater curtains? But those were also the days when folks actually went to movies. Imagine that. The movie theater experience was seen as a great positive, something looked forward to. The steady decline is why gimmickry like oversized screens and sound and high-end theaters arose. There's this chain of luxury theaters now. Oh, sorry, they refer to it as upscale cinema, of course. And I don't know what's going on. You walk in and there's a concierge desk. There's no concession stand. You walk to your theater along hallways decorated with artwork. The reclining seats are gigantic and plush and festooned with a pillow and a blanket. They bill it as all the comforts of home. Hey, if I wanted all the comforts of home, I'd have stayed home. This place wants to charge me about $30 for premium plus seating, and a server hands me a menu offering artisanal cheese boards, Angus sliders, fish tacos, buttermilk fried chicken, and more. Everything costing extra, of course. And if the menu isn't pretentious enough, go ahead and order that $550 bottle of Krug champagne. Forget that noise. The idea isn't to forget you're in a movie theater. The idea is to appreciate it, warts and all. Eschew! The luxury theater trend.
Gesundheit.
I want to smell popcorn drenched in artificial butter in my movie theater, not buttermilk fried chicken. I want to lightly rattle my box of Milk Duds and dream as the velvet curtains open. I'm Greg Cote, and that's how it was back in my day.
I mean, Guillermo, put it on the poll.
So right,
is
man.
Cote against technology? Is Cote anti-technological advancement?
No, but he's right, Dan. You want to go to a movie theater,
Yes.
sit in a chair that's slightly uncomfortable, have your feet stick to the floor. Don't sell me on this notion that all the amenities of home, because I don't have some stranger sitting next to me at home.
Right on.
And certainly no one's cooking me any food. I mean, that's for
right.
sure, yeah.
The last movie Greg Cote saw in theaters was 2008's Swing Vote.
Yeah, it's been a while since he was at a movie theater.
Win me back,
This
movies.
is what I love. The things that he longs for are the worst things.
No.
Like nobody likes the sticky stuff on the floor at movie theaters.
Atmosphere, baby.
Yes. Makes you feel like you're at a movie.
I want to feel under the armrest and be reassured that there's going to be a wad of gum there. You know what I'm saying?
How excited were you, though, when the movies that you saw started having sound attached?
When they came with color.
Don Batard.
Anybody remember the late 60s singer Oliver? He had a couple of hits, including Good Morning, Starshine. That guy, he is the brother of ACC Commissioner John Swofford.
Stugotz.
Now who didn't contribute?
No, you saved the show.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. Tom Brady's agent says that he will play this season. 49ers GM John Lynch says that Reuben Foster will be kicked off the team if found guilty in his domestic abuse case. And
so that one, the NFL doesn't want to be leaders on. That one, they want to wait until the legal process has run its course.
Yes.
Why is that? Because he's good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Really good.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, he broke his girlfriend's eardrum, punching her in the head 10 times.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yes.
Right. Allegedly. I mean, it's not alleged that the eardrum's broken, I don't think. I think that's so.
It's who broke it.
Yeah.
Or how it broke. Yep. But if he's guilty, he's gone.
Mm-hmm. No, it's interesting.
If he's guilty, he's going to have more things to worry about than his spot on the Niners.
That's right. If he's guilty, he's gone because he's going to lose, maybe lose his freedom.
Correct. Tough stance by Lynch
yes,
there.
That's right. John Lynch. And then the NFL, strong stance on domestic abuse. He will not play if he's in jail. All right? That's where we draw the line.
And finally, scientists have discovered a giant cloud of alcohol spanning 288 billion miles floating in space. Wow. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
So we are trying to wake up a guy in Hawaii who was attacked by a shark, a bear, and a snake to talk to him about why and how he was attacked by a bear, a shark, and a snake. I've been attacked by a bar before.
Where do we start off with? Do we go chronologically? I think chronologically it got more intense for him anyways, because I would go snake, bear, then shark.
Yeah.
Although bear is
No, I think I'd go snake. No. Snake's the first one you want to go with. That's the first attack, and then I think you go shark before bear.
Shark, then bear, yeah.
Well, it's the details that we learned about yesterday is where the bear bit him.
Oh,
it bit his skull and dragged him 12 feet from where he was sleeping.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Was this guy in a tent just minding his own business and
Well,
a bear
we got
came
a lot of questions, so we'll find out if we can wake him up in Hawaii.
But we agree we build up to the bear, right? I mean, that's it.
But it's hard. That ain't easy.
I'd be more afraid of a shark than
All right,
bear.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. How would you rather die, bear or shark? Go ahead, pick it.
He didn't die.
No, but I'm saying, okay, who would you rather be attacked by then?
Yeah, well, I think the bear story is probably even gnarlier. The shark, it taps into more people fear sharks than bears because a bear attacking you isn't necessarily as practical as a shark attacking you in many places.
I guess we should ask Ron McGill this at some point. Put it in the, do we have a docket around here? Put it in there if we have a docket where we ask Ron McGill which would be the less awful.
McGill has told us how to repel a bear.
Yes.
You make yourself.
That's right. You wave your arms. You make yourself big. Yeah.
Right.
That won't work with a shark. Hey, shark. Sharks don't think like that.
But you know what you can do to a shark? And this is the truth. Punch it in the nose. I swear I've read that.
That's true.
McGill would back me up.
That's true.
Yep.
Don't do that to Greg Norman.
No! I mean, no!
I thought it might be a split vote. Man. Has there ever been a split vote?
Ran it past him.
So last night in the NBA, the Thunder get pushed to the brink by that telenovela superhero, Ricky Rubio.
Bear Bryant.
Oh, God, that hurts. And now Paul George might be playing for his OKC career in the next game.
Jake the Snake.
And Melo's time in OKC, is he going to stay there? Is he going to opt out of the contract? Paul George, Russell Westbrook is just insane with fury, but that's his natural state.
Yep. Playoff P.
Yeah, Jack Nicklaus.
Aren't you sitting right across from him so you can see what the timing is on that, so you don't step on him there?
Oh, did I do that?
Jeff Samardzija.
Like, are you not aware of what we're doing? That you're sitting right in front of him. You would just be talking like when he's not talking, making that joke.
Yeah, I don't think there was as much of an overlap as you're implying.
What do you think, Stugotz?
Kobe.
Ow! I feel like that one. That one was okay. I mean, you go Mamba there. That one deserved a laugh. I feel like.
There you go.
All right. Feels better.
So, OKC loses to Utah. Utah's defense is very good. Nobody really wants to see Utah advance, right? Like, nobody.
I don't know. This Utah team's kind of exciting, man. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is really we keep talking about Embiid and Ben Simmons, and Donovan Mitchell, man, has been out of this world. He has.
Well, what's interesting, we were talking about this during the local hour. The idea, this is always interesting to me in the NBA, when usage rate and opportunity merge. And you see some of the things that you see blossom. Gordon Hayward was supposed to be the star of the Utah Jazz. We didn't know why the Utah Jazz was decent to good last year, and so it was thought to be Gordon Hayward. And Gordon Hayward, according to all the metrics, is an excellent player.
Yep.
But they swapped out Hayward, and they put a rookie there, and that rookie has gotten the same usage rate, and now he is carrying them in a way that Gordon Hayward never did.
Correct. Yes.
And that seeing that is always confusing to me, because OKC just added this hodgepodge of what they think is talent. But that hodgepodge of talent has always been at the center of usage rate and opportunity. The three of them. So you got three Donovan Mitchells out there. You got three guys who are used to just having the ball all the time. And that is the one place where I say talent doesn't win over chemistry in that sport. The one place is if you've got three bleeping guys who all do the same thing the same way.
Right.
And so what you got in Westbrook and Paul George and Carmelo Anthony are guys who are, in terms of usage rate, when you use them a lot, volume scorers who are going to volume score at an inefficient rate. All three of them. Inefficient by, you take 22 shots, you're inefficient by the league standard of where greatness is efficient. Dwayne Wade, Michael Jordan's genius wasn't in scoring more than everyone else. It was shooting 50% as a perimeter player. LeBron's genius is that he is super efficient. He can shoot close to 60% because the shots he's getting are good ones, and he's getting good shots for everyone else. Melo, Westbrook, and Paul George. The fatal flaw in that blueprint is you got three guys with the same need for usage rate.
Yep. I mean, how about Melo? 11 points on 18 shots. I mean, think about that. Seriously, in a big game, 11 points on 18 shots, and Paul George. And to Dan's point, a lot of people could do this. Go 9 of 21, which is what Paul George did, and get 32 points. Like, a lot of people can do that. You can take 21 shots.
I am saying that the one reason that you would question the OKC blueprint, and probably why Paul George would leave, is it's hard to make three redundant skill sets work together. The Heat had trouble doing it with two, taking turns. LeBron and Dwayne, both of them better than any of the three players we're talking about. They had a hard time sort of merging those two things, and still their talent ended up winning out. But now in this league, in this league.
And the Warriors were easy because, Kevin Durant wasn't looking to replace something that they already had, right? Like, all those parts fit pretty perfectly in Golden State. So, but I'm telling you, Utah's fun. I'm not certain people want Oklahoma City. Because Utah's fun. Dan, I'm telling you, Gobert is healthy. Mitchell is fun. Rubio's been great.
I'm not saying they're not fun.
And this guy, Ingles, forget it.
I'm saying people want star power, but go ahead and tell me all about Ingles.
Utah is fresher. They have a newer feel, something different. And Mitchell should win Rookie of the Year over Ben Simmons. He should. Because he's a real rookie.
Agreed.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I don't believe you guys are speaking for America.
What do you mean?
I believe America would prefer Melo, Westbrook, and Paul George to get to the second round of the playoffs because of the amount of star power on that team.
And you're probably right. What I'm saying is, and I haven't watched a ton of them, but I watched a little bit of this series. I didn't realize Utah was this good. I also didn't realize they changed their uniforms. I also didn't realize they have a new floor on the court. I had no idea. This is a new Utah team. It is fresh. It is fun. It's not your grandfather's Utah Jazz. It's not Malone and Stockton.
It's not Jerry Sloan's Utah Jazz.
It is Joe Ingles.
Mm-hmm.
You're calling him Joe Ingles?
It's not.
Ingles.
Oh, is that fine? He's from Australia.
Yeah,
in Australia, they call him Ingles.
Dan said it too. Dan said it too, though.
Well, Dan didn't know. He was just following my lead there. Which is
I know goofy looking shooter who married or is dating a woman who looks a lot like him. Like it looks like he's married to Joe Ingles. Looks like he married Joe Ingles, which is something that sounds like A-Rod would like to do.
Do I have money or?
That sign, you're fine.
Okay, good.
But that was your analysis of this is a nice little basketball team. Let me talk about their fourth best player and not pronounce his name right.
I'm not certain he's their fourth best player. Derek Favors is probably their fifth best player, but the man could shoot.
You had an Australian basketball player, an Australian national, whose name was Joe Ingles.
Ingles, that's right. He made him Latin. My father does that one on television all the time. By the way, speaking of my father, you're going to want to tune into Highly Questionable tomorrow.
I guess it is your father's jazz team if they have Joe Ingles.
That's right. It is literally my father's. It's not your grandfather's Utah Jazz, but only because I haven't had kids. Otherwise, it would be my son's grandfather's Utah Jazz. But my father yesterday, I'm not making this up, and I don't know how this is going to cut up on television, but if you watch Highly Questionable at 4:30 Eastern, my father was talking to Jim Brockmeyer, the Hank Azaria character that his IFC show, season 2, begins tomorrow night on IFC, and we've been telling you for months now that this is a show that many of you in our audience would love if you have not gotten familiar with it. But basically plays a broadcaster who's fictional, who's always in character as a drunk, awful, pill-addicted sexual deviant. That's what he's playing, and he doesn't fall out of character. But what I hadn't realized, even though that character sat next to my father as a co-host for an entire show a couple of weeks ago, I'm talking to Jim Brockmeyer on remote in character, and my father doesn't realize that Jim Brockmeyer's not real. So when Jim Brockmeyer tells the story of Brent Musburger pooping in his hotel sheets, my father is aghast because he's like, how have I not heard about Musburger doing this? And then when I tell him that Brockmeyer is a legend in baseball and in the broadcasting industry, and Brockmeyer starts to tell the story of how he was disgraced, which is that he came home during a game and his wife was in the middle of an orgy with a sex toy. You should have seen the look on my father's face, thinking that Jim Brockmeyer was a real character telling these stories. My father kept whispering to me, why is he saying all this on television? It was the orgy part that got my father. My father actually said, Danny, I don't think I should ask him my question about what is the most romantic thing you've ever done when he told us about an orgy. I don't know why I made my dad.
Look, I don't dance
Dracula.
Now. Yeah, I make money moves.
I made him sound like Rick Pitino. I don't know why I did that.
Don Batard.
I love me some doctors. Have a lot of respect for the medical profession.
Stugotz.
Except chiropractors.
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Stugotz's ability to annoy me is one of the greatest and most valuable talents in the history of sports.
Thank you.
And right before the microphones were about to go on, Stugotz does this all the time. The show has to wait, and the music has to play, and the microphones have to stay off because Stugotz is talking back into the studio with a great deal of zeal and importance about whatever it is that he's thinking about. And in the last segment, it was about the royal wedding.
Yeah.
It was about British royalty. That's what he was. That is why we have to wait. All of us just have to wait until he's finished. Do you want to continue this conversation on air, Stugotz, since it's something that delayed us starting this segment?
Yeah, I apologize for that.
Don't apologize for it. You've done it 4 times today.
Listen, me and the guys, man, we like to banter and we like to talk. And even though they're a lot younger than I am, I still think they view me as someone who may be not their age, probably younger than they are, like a child, like a kid. And so they still, and I'm grateful for this every day.
We don't.
Okay.
We don't. No.
Sorry, I misread that. But I am still grateful that at least they act like they're entertained by some of the things that I'm saying, and they seem interested in some of the things. We were just discussing whether or not Meghan Markle really loves Prince Harry. That's it. That was all. We were just discussing whether or not it's true love.
You weren't discussing it. You were shouting your thoughts on that into the other room, and they were absorbing them. Like there was not a discussion going on. You were accusing the princess of not really loving her husband. That's what you were doing, and it's why all of ESPN Radio.
It's Princess to be, that's a fine.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
I don't know if it was a one-way conversation. I feel like the guys weren't just absorbing it. They were absorbing it and then coming back with their own thoughts.
It was definitely a one-way conversation.
Yeah, Have you guys heard of this show, I Want to Marry Harry? Oh, my God. What a good show. It was on Fox a couple years ago. It was called I Want to Marry Harry. And it was basically Joe Millionaire and The Bachelor, and it was a bunch of American women who they tricked to fly over across the coast and, across the ocean, and they were in Europe, and they had this giant, like, palace castle thing, and they had a guy that looked just like Prince Harry, right? It wasn't him, obviously, but they would put on these little things where they like put up a picture of the queen or like his brother, and they'd have him say like, "Oh yes, I'm very close with my brother," and he would sound like him. And then they'd have like these security guards and these limos and like these helicopters, and they made it seem like Prince Harry is meeting his wife on a reality show with people from Hoboken, New Jersey. It was kind of crazy. Surprisingly, Fox canceled in the middle of it, and I had to watch the rest of the episodes on demand to see who won. Very disappointing.
The old bait and switch, huh?
Was the whole twist, okay, he's not Harry, but you can stay with him if you love him for him.
Yeah, that happened at the end. Spoiler alert, she did.
Wow.
I think whenever you're a prince, you have to question. You have to. In the back of your mind, somewhere, you have to wonder, hey, does she really love me?
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Does every prince have to wonder, does she really love me for me?
Yeah. That's the penalty of being a royal. You always wonder that.
So Stugotz was just yammering about the royal couple.
Yep. That's it. That's all I was doing. Just having, nice two-way conversation.
I found it interesting.
Back and forth. Thank you, Greg.
I'm a royal fan. I'm into that whole, anything that happens at Buckingham Palace, I have an extraordinary interest in. I really do.
Extraordinary?
Yeah, extraordinary
You
interest.
are not alone. America. This is America as well. Like this, you are not alone. I don't understand it. Man, there are a million things I don't understand, but this is high on the list. I don't get it.
We should do a watch party for the royal wedding.
You know what I want to do a watch party for? Let me ask you this. Can we do this? Can we do a watch party somewhere for the draft? Did you just get the joke they said in your headset 10 seconds late?
I know, yeah.
What is the joke? Go ahead and make it now. Did you just go on air? Oh, yeah, that would have been funny. That's something that just happened? What is the joke? No.
Be audible with that.
No, unbelievable, Stugotz.
I don't know.
Unbelievable. Please make the joke that you were told
George Brett.
Hold on a second. In your headset, please.
George Brett.
It's Dan, Stu, and Greg Cote on ESPN Radio. Dan Le Batard.
So let me just get this straight. What you just gave us was limited fake John Lovitz as Will Smith's character in Bad Boys, Mike Lowry.
Yeah, that's a ticket. I'm Mike Lowry.
Stugotz.
Thank you. There it is.
Yeah.
Mike Lowry. Thank you.
Glad we waited for it.
It was a lot better.
Thank you.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Is Godfather 3 viewed as the most historic cinematic failure ever? Like it's on the...
I think Ishtar is.
Well, Ishtar, right, because Ishtar was a blockbuster and then flopped. But Godfather 3, the expectations on that and the product that was produced by that director when that director was a genius.
Yeah. Well, he did it for the money. Yeah. Stop trying.
Justice League, too. Considering the expectations, you're putting all these heroes together, and it's the lowest grossing DC Universe movie.
Yep. The program as well. Just in terms of expectations.
Will you knock it off? The program?
Dan, I'm telling you. Like, I saw that trailer. I went to the theater to see...
You run everything through the prism of sports, so you think that people were fired up for the program the way they were for Ishtar.
This was like... If I remember correctly, I was watching The Fugitive, and the preview that came on was for the program. And I remember thinking they never made a movie like this. They've never made a movie. It's going to take me inside the world of, like, college football. It was like Florida State. And Dan, You had players lying on a road, doing this whole bonding thing, letting cars go. I mean, it was just looked incredible. The best 2-minute preview I've ever seen, and that fell flat.
There were kids, football players, laying on a highway, and cars were going over them. And I think based on that commercial, that actually happened to a couple of kids. I think a couple of kids, based on that trailer, I think a couple of kids tried to do that.
That was the thing once.
Guy Ritchie's King Arthur movie lost $150 million.
Ooh. How about Waterworld? Wasn't that a big bust?
That was a giant bust as well. Yeah. Speaking of busts, again, the arguments were raging during the break about the NFL draft. Stugotz is all excited about Baker Mayfield to the Jets. An Adam Schefter report came out that was different from a previous Adam Schefter report, and both reports seemed a bit flimsy when it comes to reporting. Stugotz and me and Greg Cote were laughing at the Adam Schefter reports because one of the Adam Schefter reports required a clarification. So let's go ahead and do both of those Adam Schefter reports because everyone during draft week is crazy. Everyone is going nuts. Adam Schefter is running into Jay Glazer, both of them falling down on the floor. Everyone trying to figure out who's the 18th pick of the draft is going to be.
Yep. Schefter's original report was the Browns already have made their decision on the number 1 pick, which may or may not be Baker Mayfield. And then he had to go change the language and clarify.
All right. So hold on a minute. Let's examine the first report. Hold on. Let's examine the first Adam Schefter report before the necessitated clarification. What is the first Adam Schefter report?
It reflects that the Browns already may have made their decision at the number 1 pick.
What reflects that?
His report.
Okay, so he is. So there's not reflects in the. I just want.
Schefter originally reported that it appears the Browns have already made their decision as the number 1 pick. It may or may not be Mayfield.
This is very exciting. Yeah. A decision might have been made regarding the number 1 pick.
I understand, but now there needs to be a clarification. Why? Because that doesn't sound like. What is the reporting in that? Explain that to me. Explain to what's the news in that?
Yeah, well,
that they've decided.
The Browns have decided.
But we don't know what they've decided.
And it may or may not be Baker Mayfield.
I mean, what is that? All right, so
that's a report. I mean, it's draft week. That's what that is.
So what is the clarification?
The world of possibilities is just opened.
All right, it may or may not be Baker Mayfield.
They also may or may not draft me.
All right. So they went from may or may not to now a new report with new language from Adam Schefter. Baker Mayfield definitely has been part of the Cleveland Browns conversation with the number 1 overall pick.
But why are they still having conversations if they made up their mind?
Yeah.
Then it has to be Baker Mayfield.
Do they reserve the right to change their minds after making up their minds, according to that Adam Schefter report?
If the owner talks to a homeless person, yes.
Oh, that's right. You know what? That's fair. That is a fair criticism right there. It's the Browns. How can we report anything accurately? Their owner might walk down the street and have a homeless guy tell him who to take, and he might draft that guy because that's a thing that actually happened.
Do you think someone's assigned to him, watch Jimmy, make sure he doesn't go out walking around too far?
Now, in the same story, in the same report, Sam Darnold is also still part of that conversation.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so is Josh.
Everyone toured the facility, right?
So is Josh Allen. Everyone toured the facility. So is Josh Allen. But now all we've done here is we have added Baker Mayfield to the mix.
Right.
Okay, possibility.
Did you guys? I heard in the back room when I was walking around today between breaks. I heard Stugotz spitting an idea into the back room because of how happy he is about the Jets and the possibility of Baker Mayfield. Yeah. And then Guillermo got titillated because he's saying to himself, I want entertainment with my first round draft. I want the picks to be delivered in really entertaining fashion. He was talking about Elton John.
Yeah, so the first draft, the first round of the draft, as everybody knows now, should be like a giant, entertainment concert talent show. So the teams can assign or hire people to do things. So we started saying, well, wait a minute. What if the Jets hired Elton John to perform and he reworked this song? And then we came up with that.
In hindsight, it probably should have been Baker on the Jets.
Oh, do it again.
Yeah, that was a mistake that we made.
All right, that is the only mistake. Reworkshop it, see if you bring it back next segment.
Unfortunately, we're out of our allotted parody songs for the day, so that's a real shame.
We can't do it again.
Can't do it again.
Acapella, mother bleeper.
Baker on the Jets.
Yeah.
It's Roy.
Baker.
Yeah.
Baker on the Jets.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I mean, so Elton John, what happened, Mike? Why there? Well, this is what I don't understand. We've got happening around here something interesting, and then there are layers now of the show. There's this room, and then there's Roy and Mike sitting there, and then behind them, Chris and Billy enjoyed the holy hell out of that. And I got to be honest with you, Stugotz is more linked with that back row than he found it uproarious. Cody, so was it funny? Yes or no? Put it on the poll at Batard Show. Cody loved it.
I loved it.
Greg couldn't stop laughing at it, but of course, you're playing the hits of his genre. That's the last time. That's the last concert he went to.
That's in my wheelhouse. That song.
That is, so the song was dreadful. The idea was dreadful. The execution was dreadful.
Also, we're that show now.
Biggest show in America, baby. Woo!
Cent, 5 cent, 10 cent, dollar.
I'm sorry, man.
Stugotz has 1,000 good ideas and 1,000 bad ones. We air all of them.
You do agree with this, though. I guarantee it. Friday, that's the headline of the Jets take Baker Mayfield, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, on the back page. Yeah,
unless the Browns take.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
Don Batard.
What do you prefer, flat wings or drumsticks? Because I like drumsticks.
I like drumsticks, too, yeah.
Flat rules.
Stugotz.
If people do just drums, though, you'd think there's a bunch of extra flat wings just laying around, right?
Right.
Thank you.
Yep.
I think more people do all flats, though.
No,
Really?
I think more people do drumettes. I'm telling you, more people do the drumettes.
I like drumettes so much more.
No.
In fact, I'd prefer to do all drums.
Flatten it.
This is the Don Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Bryant Gumbel going to join us. His interview with Derek Jeter airs tonight on Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel at 10 p.m. on HBO, and he joins us here on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
He's been doing a lot of good journalism for a long time, and HBO Real Sports does some of the best sports journalism that you will find anywhere. So he joins us now, and he decided to interview Derek Jeter. Bryant Gumbel with us on ESPN Radio. Thank you for joining us. What lured you to this?
Guys, how you doing?
Excellent, thank you. What lured you to this story?
I guess it's kind of a natural fit. I mean, I'm not sure there are bigger names baseball has produced over the last 20 years, and he's changed jobs, and he doesn't do a lot of interviews. And we've kind of had the ask out there for a while. Nisreen Habal from our staff has been asking him for some time, and why he said yes, I'm not sure. I guess he'd be the better one to ask.
So how did you feel the interview went? It airs tonight, again, 10 p.m. on HBO.
I'm in a bad position to judge that. I mean, I'm not objectively objective about it. I do think it's fair to say that people will see a side of Derek that he has rarely shown before. I think that's fair.
Bryant, the partial transcript HBO put out of the interview made the interview sound very contentious. Was it?
I don't know about contentious. I mean, it was two people who had contrasting points of view and were being direct and forthright about it. Yes, I saw where people made a big deal out of the fact that at one point he said, you're mentally weak. It was not thrown as an insult. It was said jokingly. I think the questioning was direct. I think the questions were fair. I think they were pointed, and I think we held his feet to the fire to try to get answers.
Bryant, hard to take him seriously when he claims he's not tanking, isn't it?
It certainly. If he's not tanking, it's a real good impression of it, don't you think?
I mean, it seems obvious. Yes. It seems like the most obvious thing in the world. I understand they're trying to clean up their budget, and I understand that he thinks he's trying to win every time he's out there, but the concession that it's a inferior AAA coupon clipped product can't be disputed, can it?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I just wish I had defined tanking better. I thought about it later, and it probably could better be defined as prioritizing long-term success over short-term wins.
Right, because he spun that on you. Like, it goes without saying, the team that he's putting out there is trying to win baseball games.
Yeah, but
they're just not good enough.
No, but
right.
he's hiding in the semantics, though.
That's what I'm saying.
This is a business move that's being framed as a baseball move. They are paring it down to clean up their business, and they're putting a minor league product on the field.
Well, it can be both, though, can't it? Can it be both a business move and a baseball move?
That's the way you get away with dirty business, is by always claiming we have a chance because it's baseball.
I absolutely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. This year we saw half the teams in the NBA basically tanking. And it's unfortunate that people look at recent history in baseball, the last two champions, and say, my God, it works.
Again, yes, that was the commissioner's argument that it works sometimes, but that's baseball. That's not how you run the product. But Bryant Gumbel, his interview with Derek Jeter airs tonight. Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, 10 p.m. on HBO.
Bryant, Marlins fans listening to the interview tonight, how are they going to come away from this? Are they going to be encouraged by what Jeter said, or are they going to be shaking their heads, do you think?
I guess it depends on how much you like Derek Jeter. Look, I'm not telling you guys anything. Marlins fans have been screwed over for so long that he's asking for patience from a group that's not willing to give it. But I think they're faced with the reality that what they've been doing in the past hasn't worked. Are they willing to wait another 4 years, 3 years, 5 years to see it work? If that's the case, then they should be optimistic. If not, if they think this is more of the same, then they should be very pissed off.
Can you explain? Excuse me. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, that's all right.
Can you explain to us where you felt like you were holding his feet to the fire and what you thought? And again, everybody can watch 10 p.m. tonight on HBO, Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. But can you tell us the places where you thought his feet were being held to the fire and that the answers were uncomfortable or he had to sort of slip around you?
Oh, I think his answers were uncomfortable throughout. I really do. From the very beginning when I said you've been charged with everything from, firing beloved people to tanking, to not having enough money, et cetera, et cetera. And to his credit, and I'll give Derek credit for this, he didn't run away from them. Now, he may have used semantics to work around them. I do think all interviews are a bit of a dance, and he has learned how to dance. Do I wish he'd have come clean and admitted some things? Sure, I do. But as you guys well know, that's we always don't get what we want in this business.
What do you have to say about the money, Bryant?
He says that they have deep pockets. I'm not privy to that kind of information. I don't think there's any secret to the fact that if you get rid of the people he got rid of, you get rid of Yelich and Stanton and Gordon and everybody else, you're gonna save money. I think the question is whether that money is put back into the product or put into the pockets of the owners. In addition to what they're going to save, as you guys well know, they're going to get about $50 million within the next year as a result of baseball's sell-off of their digital platform. And so it remains to be seen whether that money, too, is turned back into the franchise or whether it winds up in the pockets of the Bruce Sherman Group.
When you said, and this is Bryant Gumbel with us, his interview with Derek Jeter airs tonight, Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, 10 p.m. on HBO. When you said that people will see a side of Jeter they haven't seen in this interview, he has done an excellent job of creating the mythology around him, where 20 years he hasn't had a bad public moment. Is he going to have one tonight?
That's kind of up to the public to determine. I never go into something trying to make someone look bad. I really don't. I'm more interested in trying to find out the truth, and I always tell people my only role there is to try to get people to justify or clarify things. And that's about the extent of it. But you are correct. Derek spent 20 years never courting controversy, and to hear his critics tell it, never really saying anything.
Well, Stugotz has the most important question, the backbreaker, and I know Bryant Gumbel is an esteemed journalist, but this is the question that needs to be asked.
How do you smell?
Yeah.
Now, Brian, how do you smell?
Yeah, how do you smell? He smelled good, right?
Right, really good. Right?
He was the second best smelling person in the room.
Oh!
Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Are you surprised that Gumbel smells better than Jeter? Put it on the poll. Bryant, thank you for being on with us. Appreciate you and your work, sir.
Hey, guys, thanks. I'm a big fan. Stay healthy and happy.
Thank you, Brian.
Dan Le Batard.
You want me to get real?
Stugotz.
I'll get real.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The Pelicans have picked up the option on Coach Alvin Gentry's contract for next season. Sony Pictures Entertainment announced that it has struck a deal with Stephen Curry to produce television, film, and possibly gaming projects. And finally, an unruly passenger on a flight who screamed, "Tase me and see what happens," was then tased 10 times. For all the latest headlines and information, tune to the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Stugotz, let's go ahead and update the polls. But by the end of the polls, and I've been putting more and more pressure on our production staff, they are enormously creative, and when pressured, they produce. They produce consistent. You know, coal turns to diamonds with pressure. And so I've been putting enormous pressure on the production staff, and that is how Baker on the Jets happens. It's like, to give people some context here, we can't do this song over because we're only allowed one time to play the song. So I can't even play for you how bad Baker on the Jets was. But during the break, to the real and substantive dismay of Mike Ryan, who was groaning and moaning and thinks right here, this is the when on jumping the shark. Right here. Right here. We're jumping the shark on Baker on the Jets. And Guillermo and Chris in the back are delighted in bothering Mike Ryan because he thinks this is the point where our show right here jumps the shark into being diluted and not funny. We're announcing it right now. This is where it's going to happen. Unfortunate that it would happen in the middle of negotiations. I wish somebody wouldn't see that.
That's what would happen if in the talent show, the Browns brought back Jim Croce from the grave and had him announce the Browns picking Baker Mayfield.
Yeah. You can sing it all you want.
All right, well, wait a minute. Are we allowed to do that? Because there are all sorts of rights fees when hip-hop guys...
You're not allowed.
Oh. When hip-hop guys come on highly questionable, they're not allowed to sing their own song.
But based on the two songs that we played, the Jets would get that extra first-round pick this year. They went Elton John. I mean, they went to greater lengths to get this thing done, right?
Yeah, but we brought Croce back from the dead.
Oh, wow.
You know.
Winner.
Yeah.
A genuine resurrection.
Yep.
What is happening here with the draft? What are the things being reported as we head to this seminal television event? Rich Eisen is mad at all of you for putting some of the details out on Twitter before the NFL and ESPN can announce them, in cahoots with the NFL to bring you this kind of programming.
You'd be hard-pressed to find another draft where there was this much uncertainty about the number one pick. Usually the uncertainty, too, is about between one or two guys. Is it going to be Winston or Mariota? Reggie Bush and Mario Williams was a bit of a surprise, but it's never been a group of potentially 5 people that can be taken number one overall.
Well, which was the draft, though? Because tell me if this is happening. And again, you know I don't like this thing. I think it's guesswork and it's silly. And the idea that Greg Cote got 8 picks right last year and that Mel Kiper and Todd McShay got 4 right in the first round. Everyone's guessing, including the people making the selections. But is this the Ronnie Brown draft, or is this a draft where you remember the year that Ronnie Brown, this in the backfield, in a single backfield, Auburn had Jason Campbell. This team didn't win the championship, did it?
No, they made it to the championship game, yes.
They went undefeated.
Right.
In a single backfield, you had Ronnie Brown, Jason Campbell is the quarterback, and Cadillac was also, they shared carries, right?
Yeah, Cadillac Williams, Ronnie Brown backfield.
Okay, and so that draft ended up being, everybody wanted to get to the top of that draft, and then nobody in that draft ended up being any good at the top. Is that what's happening here? Who are the surefire, isn't Barkley the only guy that you got, that everyone knows? Okay, that guy's...
Yeah, your mother could scout him.
No, Dan, right, exactly. I mean...
The guard,
that's
Quentin Nelson.
Said. Like, Dan, it's funny because Mel Kiper has ranked his top 50 prospects, meaning in order of guys that he thinks are going to be good NFL players. And you have to go to number 5 before you get to a quarterback. So I think that's the thing. The question is, are any of these quarterbacks going to be great?
Well, what I'm asking you is, because this is unscientific, because Tom Brady goes in the 6th round, because Aaron Rodgers falls in the 1st round, because all of this is a bunch of people trying to guess how kids are going to become adults. And it's not as easy as it is in basketball, where most people, I can't do it, but most people can just look at Ben Simmons and tell you when he's 15, that guy can play in the pros. That guy can be LeBron if he develops a jump shot. I can't do that in this draft. Baker Mayfield was great in college. I enjoyed watching him play. But you can't tell me watching the two of them play that Baker Mayfield is any better than Lamar Jackson, can you? You're watching football and you're sitting there and you're not even looking at the numbers. You're just watching a football game.
Yeah, I have no idea.
How could we know whether Lamar Jackson is better than Baker Mayfield? All we know is that those styles generally become Johnny Manziel and don't work in the NFL. Generally.
You're right, but what makes this draft so appealing and so attractive to so many is you have the 2 New York teams selecting in the top 3. You have the Browns with 2 picks in the top 4, right? And then you have all these quarterbacks, and you have a bunch of big market teams who need a quarterback, including the Broncos. You have these teams, Dan, plus the 2, the New York market. So you're really tapping into something where there's more interest this year than any other year that I can remember.
Any of 4 quarterbacks could go number 1. And to Mike's point, that's extremely unusual where you don't even feel good about who the overall number 1 pick is going to be. And Baker Mayfield is a classic example of the tumult in this draft because it wouldn't surprise me if he went number 1 overall, and it also wouldn't surprise me if he dropped all the way to 10, 11, or 12.
Totally fair.
Really, Mike? A mouthed wow. Wow.
No, right.
Greg Cote gave you the soundbite that ESPN wants. Can you do it again, Greg Cote? Because Mike Ryan just went wow because he is starved like a junkie for any draft information. So you go ahead. As the authority on these things, because you picked more correct picks to their team last year by double in your exactos in your mock draft than these frauds, these shams, Kuiper and McShay, who got 4 out of 32 last year.
Yeah, and I got 8.
8. You give us that kind of expertise that we could spread across ESPN platforms because it's a strong opinion on the draft, and we will not have to clarify it like that bum Adam Schefter who says things may or may not be so and then has to qualify him. You get out there with the ESPN sound that ESPN wants.
Here's an example of the tumult in this draft. Baker Mayfield could go number 1 overall. It wouldn't surprise me. But if he dropped all the way down to 10 or 12, that wouldn't surprise me either.
Woo!
Wow. How about that?
Fire!
How about this? There's actually 2 guys in this draft that could be that guy.
Uh-oh.
Josh Allen can also be that guy.
I could see him going in the 2nd round.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah, you see, Stugotz is just,
That's a take.
I up the ante.
A hot take.
Yep.
You want to keep going? Hold on a minute. I'll keep pushing you to the edge if you want. You want to keep escalating?
Listen, I'm telling you guys right now, I have watched the film on all these guys. And the best quarterback in this draft by far is Mason Rudolph.
Wow. Now, it's going to be hard to put that all over ESPN platforms when you moved away from the microphone with jazz hands.
Oh.
You need to stay there and deliver that as a serious sports take that everyone can use on SportsCenter.
All right, listen, I am telling you guys right now, I have watched the film. I've studied more film than any single person at ESPN, and I am telling you, I have watched all these quarterbacks play, and there is only one surefire lock in this draft. He's going to be great, and not just great, Hall of Fame great. The best quarterback in the 2018 NFL draft is Mason Rudolph.
That's good.
How about that?
That's good. Send it. Send it out right now. Conquer sports with it. Send it out now. Tell the AP. Do they still do this? Tell everybody that takes this information and disseminates it. Call somebody. Well. Call UPI. Call Reuters. How do we disseminate it? Call the Huffington Post. All the aggregate sites. Send that sound out immediately.
I'm texting Armin Katayan right now.
Armin Katayan! Yes.
Now to the good stuff.
Why'd that name get us so excited?
Always funny. The name Armin Katayan, always funny. Put it on the poll, Guillermo.
This is what you hate about the draft. Mason Rudolph could be the best quarterback in this draft.
Yep.
No one has
he could.
idea.
And also, you can find him in the 6th round like we did all those years ago with Tom Brady. He might be in the 6th round. And then we'll all be surprised. I don't understand. These experts.
That 05 draft you were talking about, everyone tried to move up to get Alex Smith. Aaron Rodgers was taken in the 20s.
It's amazing. Dane calls that draft the Ronnie Brown draft. And not the greatest quarterback of all time draft.
Because I remember nobody knew what to do at the top because the top wasn't that great. So it was Cadillac, it was Ronnie Brown, and Aaron Rodgers fell to the end of the 1st round. I bet you Gettleman had something to do with that. 1-800.
Browns felt they addressed their quarterback position, I guess, a year prior, and they went Braylon Edwards there. A full 20 picks before Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, they did.
Well, hold on a second. Let's just do this. Well,
I have it right here.
All right, hold on. We'll do it next because we're up against a break.
Don Le Batard.
How much money does Sister Jean actually get? None.
Stugotz.
How do you know that?
Because I do.
Well, you don't know that.
Right. I was actually making a play on words. It went right over your head.
I did. I'm sorry. My bad. I missed the joke. Yeah. I don't get the show.
Let the joke sit. Let the joke sit.
Yes.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Texter writes in, can we please move past the draft predictions? It's horrible radio, you fat bleep. Mina Kimes will join us tomorrow to break down the draft. We are going to be draft intensive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Headed up to Thursday, even though I hate the draft because that's a formulaic tension this show has played as an instrument for years. I hate the draft. Everyone else loves it. Boom, boom, boom. Go to the bank. Take the money.
I'm not going to be right till Friday, man. I'm telling you. Like, this is just weighing on my mind, all of it. Who the Jets are going to take, which quarterback, are they going to take the right one?
It's amazing because as a Browns fan, I don't have many opportunities for happiness in my life. And unless they take Josh Allen, I'm going to be leaving Thursday night, wherever I watch it, so sky high from the joy that my football team has finally delivered to me twice early.
Yes. It's amazing. Go to bed.
Unless they botch it. Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Oh, the Browns going to botch it. Because they can't botch it. But they're going to botch it.
They can.
Yeah, they can.
Oh, they can botch it.
All right, at Le Batard Show on Twitter, Stugotz, go ahead and update the polls, please.
Are the 76ers tall as hell? 94% of the audience said yes. Did Dwayne Wade win Game 4 even though they lost? 62% of the audience said yes.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Dwayne Wade did win Game 4 even though everyone around him lost.
Yeah. This is disappointing, Mike. Should the show reverse course and try to befriend David Gettleman?
Yeah, we want to be a Dave Gettleman show now.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to give the podcast, listen.
Slow down on the we. Slow down on the we.
Me and Mike and the shipping container, all the guys, okay, besides Dan. Greg, you in on this?
Yes.
Gettleman. Yeah, we want to befriend Dave Gettleman. We do.
We are Gettlemen.
Yes. Yes. So, podcasters, vote yes on this, okay? Anyway.
Well, no, I don't want Gettleman.
But you're not a Gettleman?
No, I'm not a Gettleman. What is the poll?
You don't want to be a man in the Gettleman army?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
All right. Well, the poll said 57% no. We should not reverse course.
I'm with them.
Gettle the hell out of here, man.
Yes.
Yep.
Gettle the hell. And say hello to Art Briles when you get there.
Would it be better if the first pick in the NFL draft was announced from a rocket ship in space?
Right.
81% of the audience said yes.
Unless that pick is Josh Allen.
You can take that rocket ship, put Josh Allen in it, send it on a mission that never returns, and Mike Ryan would be happy.
I can wrap my brain around getting a good player from a bad team.
The Browns
not a bad player from a bad team.
Guillermo, put it on the poll. Would you be surprised if the Cleveland Browns took Josh Allen at 1 and 4?
That's the thing with this draft, by the way. None of these quarterbacks did anything in college. If you're that good.
That guy less than most. Like Lamar Jackson did. Baker Mayfield.
Lamar and Baker, yes, right.
Yeah.
The guys nobody liked.
Yeah, and Sam Darnold did, but 2 years ago.
That's right.
Right.
Before the weight problem.
Who's the more awkward hugger? How do you think this one went for you, Dan? Dan or Roger Goodell?
Yeah, poorly.
Ooh.
Yep. 71% said yeah. Is Roger Goodell a good hugger? 71% said no. We think he's a great hugger. If Greg Cote had access to the picks before everyone else, would he be the fastest tweeter in the world with that information? Greg is saying no. 72% of the audience is saying hell yes. Does Dave Bing qualify as great? 77% of the audience said no on Bing. How about that?
Not great. It's just young people, ignorant young people.
You can't be great and not make it to a conference final. I'm sorry.
7 All-Star games.
Not great. Does playoff pee sound like a urinary infection?
Time now for Greg Cote's fantasy update.
It is time now for a weekly update on our favorite team, Rex Lobos.
You want to keep giving updates?
Well, is Baker
Here's
the Jets
the
funny?
head coach and president of football operations, Greg Cote.
That's an important one. Is Baker and the Jets funny?
56% of the audience said yes.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
we'll take it. We'll take
you always want to shoot for alienating half of your audience.
We'll take it. We'll take it. That was great.
Waiting on you, Cody.
Oh, am I up? Well, Greg's Lobos is girding for the draft, but the thing the Lobos
This was the Dan Le Batard Show on ESPN Radio.
We live in a racist country.